All right,
Yes. Well,
we're recording.
welcome. And this is webinar series 3. And just like in our past 2 years, the webinar series is offered for credit. If you look at the bottom of our agenda, and we'll go over it too near the end of our session today, it tells you, upcoming events. And then when you follow up how to sustain your PD, the webinar course requirements are right there. And basically, we have divided it up, the first 3 webinars, so that we could talk about the professional development books that you have all chosen, and to look at how you respond to text. With text is going to be our theme tonight, text options. And so we've overlapped that with some items that we have found in the Chart a New Course book, which you'll also be using that book in your second class, the one that starts in January. But then we're also going to look at how you might manage some video options in our next one and some audio options in the last one. And then the 4th webinar in our series is going to be all about preparing for the TIE conference again. And right now, we don't know if we'll be at the TIE conference or we'll be on Zoom. Right, Julie?
Right. I
But
think
we'll be
we'll
doing
be
something.
doing something. I think we're talking about, I mean, we're still planning live right now, but it's hard to know.
Yeah, and it's just amazing to me that will be our big finale. That will be the end of our cohort and our grant. So it's like, wow, where did the time go? But, that's what, I'm old. That's what we all think when. So to get started, we have under professional reading, and Julie's sharing her screen there, we have the 4 titles, which is kind of group things that kind of went together, and some, at the time, in my mind, they went together. And our guiding questions: what is the most important insight you gained? What's one practice that interests you or one that you wouldn't try in a million years? And what do you wish the rest of us could have read? So our titles are the culturally responsive teaching, the growth mindset coach, or the growth mindset playbook, and then leading from the library, stamped from the beginning, which is the original adult book, and then stamped with Jason Reynolds' rewrite on that one. So anybody want to jump right in on one of those titles? Or, okay. How about if I give us this kind of start? Whenever I was looking at that first question, important insight, I thought of like one word that would describe each title. In the culturally responsive teaching one, expectations. Because her major point there is that, this gap we have between different groups of students across our country, it's not poverty. Some of it is the way we teach kids in poverty. And I really personally have seen that. And then, it's not one magic reason, or one magic cure, but expectations is a good one for that one. And then for growth mindset, this one always makes me so sad. In the playbook, they quote, I think it was some kind of survey, that kids today have lost hope. Hope seems to be something that we really need to help our kids with. And then, of course, leading from the library, that one is Shannon McClintock Miller's book. And to me, that one it's relationships, with the adults, with kids, with everybody. And then stamped, of course, the term, and we've seen it all over social media, and I'm sure many of you have read other titles related to this, but it's the term anti-racist. So, I mean, there's much more to each of these books, but when I look back at them and I skimmed over them, those are the topics or the description that I had come up with, things that really stuck with me.
So And I mean, you guys can drop stuff in the chat too, as you went through. I know I've done a lot with the culture. I read the Culture Responsive Teaching and the Growth Mindset and Coach playbook and Leading from the Library. I haven't gotten through stamped from the beginning or stamped yet. And I know the Growth Mindset Coach and playbook, both, what I like about both of them are they really give us that um background information on the topic that you're talking about, and it ties in a little bit of research. I mean, it isn't hard to read or anything, but it gives you kind of the why this is important, and if you want to know more, you can go here. But then it gives really actionable activities that you can do with your kids to help explain that concept. Though in the growth mindset coach book, one of the activities is equity versus equality.
Equality. Yep.
And so what I've always used to do that is M&Ms. And so you give each table like a cup of M&Ms or Skittles or, whatever. And now I think with COVID, because you're supposed to pass around the cup and take what you want or take, there's this whole activity around it. And now with COVID, I just think I'll never do that again. So I'm sure there's other ways to teach equity and equality, but it is a fun activity because you go through and you write down on a piece of paper either a reason why you should eat M&Ms or you shouldn't eat M&Ms. And so some people are like, well, I just ate breakfast, or oh, there's never not a good time to eat chocolate, kind of thing. And then you shuffle them all up and draw or hand them out again. And so you end up with somebody else's reason. And so you have to abide by. So like if you were like, oh my gosh, I love chocolate, I could eat it all the time, but you get oh, chocolate makes me queasy, you have to pass on the M&Ms when they go by. And so it's kind of a fun way to start thinking about the different needs that we all have and stuff. So that's one of the things I do like about both the growth mindset coach and the playbook, are that they're very actionable activities.
Actually, I would say that about all of them, especially the first three. The stamped, there's so many activities too, because it's a global read aloud book this year. And of course, Jason Reynolds is just all over offering
He
wonderful things.
is, yes.
There's a recording, and I was just hesitating because I'm not sure I linked it to our Facebook. I might have liked it somewhere. He's recently did a recording talking about it, his book too.
So we've got a whole crew of the Leading from the Library group here. And so do any of you guys want to talk about Leading from the Library?
I'll talk.
Cool.
Okay. So what I really liked is that they kept stressing the fact that it's not going to look the same for every situation, and that
Exactly.
it could work for this situation, but it might not work here. And I think that really resonated with me, because things are so crazy and different right now, and I still could find things that I could do, even though I'm Zooming every lesson that I'm doing. I'm not physically with the kids, and that's a huge change, but it's been awesome. The kids are doing super awesome with it, and they're finally learning to come up to me at the laptop to ask questions instead of running to their teacher. So I don't know, it's been awesome. But no, I thought that there were so many different things that made sense, no matter if you were a small school or a big school. And I would put little circles and stars next to all this stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And then I'd read, and then I'd start writing emails to myself saying, okay, look for that and try this. Then I'd be following everybody on Twitter that they'd mention, or I'd add their books to my Amazon list. And so no, I really liked the book, and I'm like, okay, I gotta keep going with my books. But yeah, so I was happy with what I chose.
You're sustaining your PD.
That's
Yes.
awesome. Well, and the other cool thing, Corinne, is the books that you're looking at. If you want, I mean, you guys have access to Ty Reads, and so if you want, to say, hey, can we get those? Because I love it when we get PD books that I can add. And so, in fact, yesterday one of my coworkers sent me a list, and I was able to add. Well, two of them were already in, which makes me feel good. That good collection development thing, But but yeah, so if you guys come up with more books that you want, I will definitely look for them. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
So who
I
else?
think,
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead. Back to leading from the library, I think too, not only do they stress, and again, everybody's relationships are different. Nobody has identical relationships. And so they stress that you don't do it all. You don't have to do it all. Start small. And that's something I think Julie and I have talked about. Hopefully we keep talking about that with you, is that there's so much, and we're bombarded, especially now with, oh, you can use this for virtual, school, that we don't have to do or attempt or sit back and feel bad because we haven't done everything.
All right. So there's more leading from the library peeps here. Does somebody else want to chime in? And it's okay if you didn't read or didn't get it done.
I think all four of these really speak to mindset in some way or the other. The culturally responsive teaching, and some of us, I think, without even knowing it, it's mindset. Oh, that student never comes, that student's attendance is horrible, so they can't do this work. Rather than looking at the individual. I don't know, maybe it's just my thought, my mindset, I guess it is, that they do so much of that. Oh, it's remedial, the drill and kill. And of course the kids don't want to do drill and kill. But the idea that, to get them up to grade level for the test. I don't have all the answers, but I know that one's not one of them.
When I read Culturally Responsive, one of the things I really noticed was is your biases and how they really, I mean, but she talks about it. She shares a lot of stories, which makes it really easy to read and relate to, which I really appreciated. And she also had, because I've done a lot of work with the customized learning schools, she has a lot of stuff that kind of ties in, where you're bringing in more choice and you're bringing in more flexibility, like allowing assignments to be redone or getting rid of deadlines. And, I mean, and putting more ownership on the student, but at the same time, also, you're not reducing the rigor. You are just giving, like more options, I guess. And it was just really refreshing to read from that viewpoint, because one of the things that I've found is like the customized learning work feels to be very technical. I mean, it's kind of like the nuts and bolts of what you should do, and culturally responsive teaching started to tie in more of that social emotional and the being that angle of it, and the culture aspect of it. And so I really like those connections. And so for me, it was just kind of like filling in dots from some of the work that I've done with other projects.
There's so much of this that can be done, face to face or virtual. Julie, I'm sure you would figure out how to do that M&M game online. Or Skittles or whatever. I'm thinking Jamboard.
Yes.
Julie, I think what you said about culturally responsive teaching is also true in Stamped. I've been a strong advocate for that one since I read it last spring. And I think the fact that it is so easily relatable, Jason Reynolds, just his writing style, he's amazing. I adore the man. But you definitely see that come through in Stamped as well. He tells stories, he tells anecdotes, he ties everything down so that people understand it. He's not condescending at all. He's just really, really, really relatable. I've been giving this book to everybody, and I've got some of my kids reading it now too. So
that's a good one. So awesome. I love that. Has
He's
anybody else?
amazing.
Well,
He is
I've
amazing. And the quips he puts in there for the kids, like he speaks directly to
Right?
the kids. Yeah, I love that part too. Go ahead, sorry. Well, we can always come back to talking about titles, and we don't have to talk about titles. We just hope that maybe something has piqued your interest and it can go on your, to be read pile, or you take a look at certain sections that might, help you out in your current situation. And we know we could talk all night about our current situation. So when we look at then how you as an adult, because that is part of your assignment, if you end up using the webinar for credit, is how you're going to respond to the book that you chose. And one of the ways, if we go down to professional presentations here on the agenda, is with text. But of course, when I talk about text, we're using technology most of the time in one way or another. Sketch notes, I know we've talked about, but our author, Renee, no, I'm sorry. She's Rochelle, and I keep calling her Renee. Sorry. Of Chart a New Course, and I put the page numbers there for you. She's done quite a nice job about sketch notes. And she mentions too that sometimes kids just want like paper and pencil or markers and colored pencils. And then, I've done this myself, and then you just take a picture of it, if with the teacher's phone or the kid's phone, and turn it into a file. Or you can also just use Google Draw. Like I'm so big on, let's just learn a few things. Like if we learn all those Google apps, look at all the things that you could use them for. You could do sketch notes that way. And then on page 65, she talks about a book snap. And that's where you literally take a picture of a page in the book. And then the kids can, and I would do this in Google Draw also, import the picture, because then she mentions you could use Bitmojis and you could highlight and circle and do all kinds of things and do annotations, on the edge. It's the idea, the main focus is to show that you understand what the text is saying. And so another thing I've done, we didn't call it book snaps, we called it Blackout Poetry, but it kind of was the same thing. I took a book that we had read aloud for the Global Read Aloud, and I didn't let my kids see me do this, but I took it apart and I gave them each a page from it. And then they did that exact thing. But we did it with markers, of course. They highlighted the words that were important to them, that gave some kind of message from that page in the book that had something to do with the whole story. We did it at the end. And then they did some fantastic stuff with that. Infographics. Infographics have been around a long time, but on page 74 and then again on 88, she talks about lots of different ways. And I know Canva is Julie's new favorite, right, Julie?
I've always liked Canva, but yes, I've been using it a lot lately.
And so there's so many picture charts. There's so many different ways to make infographics. But infographics, I mean, kids could make an infographic, or you as the adult, when you respond to your book, it's just a way to highlight the book or also answer those 3 questions that we have up there in the first part of the agenda. And I think you could do an infographic on a Google slide. You could use Draw. There's so many ways that you could still stay within Google if you didn't have Canva or some of those other things. And then the last one, the Kahoot. She talks about gaming a lot, responding to text or to show what you've learned through gaming. So it's on page 39 and 55. And with Kahoot, of course, the kids love it. They love the competition. And you can play teams, individually. And we've played Kahoot, I think, at one of our face-to-face meetings long ago. But one of the things I've ended up doing is that, for instance, we read this biography of Muhammad Ali, okay? And so you can look in Kahoot and see what other Kahoots other teachers or students have created. And my kids would get so annoyed when we'd look at one and stuff would be wrong, or there'd be things that were not spelled correctly. And I had them create their own Kahoots because they thought they could do a better one. Of course they could, and I kind of did this purposely. But then in my reading class, they want the boys against the girls. We competed who could create the best Kahoot with 10 questions from that book. They had a lot of fun with that. And they did show me what definitely, and they did it as, you know, 2 different groups, but they showed some really good comprehension with that. So you could write a Kahoot about your book, your professional book. And then anyone else want to chime in with other things you've done that are text related?
Oh, Sally, actually, Sally is sharing. We're gonna go back to book talking. Sally says her mic isn't working, but she's read The Growth Mindset Coach.
Oh,
So yay, I'm so glad. She's been studying mindset and she loves the little lessons in each chapter. And her favorite one was on brain plasticity. I'm getting better at not saying things like, I'm just not a blank, you know, person as a cop out for not being able to do something, and challenging myself to learn to do them. Oh, Sally, I love that. That's so awesome. That is so cool.
that is very cool. And I think that's so important. Like with all these things I've been talking about using Google Draw, you know, I would always say, well, I can't draw, but yes, I can. I can use those shapes. I can create something. And so I really worked with my kids on that too. I mean, we love stick figures. Stick figures are good. And they
Yes.
did some really creative stuff.
Well, and the other thing that I really like about that mindset is when you can demonstrate that you have that growth mindset, it really helps your kids too. You know, I mean, just because your kids are, instead of you're standing up there going, oh yeah, I can't do technology, and it's oh well, no, let's see if we can figure this out. You know, it's just so much better for our kids too. So this is so cool. I'm so glad you read the book. It is one of my favorite books. I really liked. I like Growth Mindset Coach, and she has a brand new book out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. And I actually sounds really cool, and I think it's in Thai reads. Let me look. Because I was so excited because she wrote. She's fairly a prolific writer, I think.
So has anybody done a book snap or something similar to that?
Sally says she picked it after finishing Psycho-Cybernetics,
Oh
which
my
is all
goodness.
about mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, so here is the new one, and I haven't read it yet, but it's the Growth Mindset Classroom Ready resource book, and so it's a teacher's toolkit for encouraging grit and resilience in all students. So it is in Thai reads. I'll drop it in the
Great.
chat.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there you go, Sally. There's your next book.
And just something else I had forgotten to mention too, I called this section of our agenda professional presentations because my thinking is you can use these things when you present this information like to your teachers, or you're going to go to a conference. We don't all have to have a slideshow. Julie and I are kind of stuck on, we like this agenda format, but you know, it can be anything. You could you know, put up an infographic and that's your whole session, or that's your whole like if you're at a staff meeting and you want to teach them something real quick or show them something real quick.
So I taught sketch notes today, actually.
Yay!
Yay!
I have a makerspace class this year. We've got encore classes that are 7 weeks long. And so I've got a 7th grade maker class that we focus on the design process and then just kind of make stuff. But we talked about sketch notes today for the beginning because we just started a new session this week. So they are back to the beginning. So
they come to you in the library for this?
Yeah, so I've got 2 classrooms that are off the library. And so this is just 1 period a day. It's something I've never done, but we needed another, we call them encore classes.
Right, yeah.
And we needed another one this year because of scheduling. So
Well, what a great topic for them.
develop
And
our
then
makerspace, and
your library stays open while you do this?
it does. And I can, because it's so much hands-on, I've got about 20 kids in that classroom, but because there's so much going on, I really can still monitor and see my library too. And a lot of times they're working in the library as well, and I'm just walking in between them. So I can still take care of my library kids too. It's been so much fun.
Oh, cool.
So awesome.
Well, you guys keep putting things in chat, so feel free to interrupt. Don't worry about that. I'm just going to go on, because then after, you think about the way to present and the way you might want to respond to your book as part of your project if you take the webinars for credit. We also want you to be thinking about professional opportunities. And face-to-face, you have a professional learning network. I know many schools have those formally organized. But an example to me is we do this all the time without really thinking about it. We had friends come over and help us haul hay. And she was a brand new third grade teacher. And she was a little worried because she'd also heard that day they were going virtual. So we had our own session right there. I talked to her about Wakelet. She learned about Bitmoji, and then I gave her something that Julie and I had just done for the SDLA conference, all the links and everything. So we had our own little session, and 10 minutes right there. And I'm thinking, I did this all the time in the hall, at lunch, and I'm sure all of you guys do too, with your teachers or when somebody comes to you with a question. So your professional opportunities don't always have to be formal and terribly, organized. I guess that's a mindset I'm talking about, is to be open to that. And of course, our Facebook group, I think is just fabulous. And we will continue that even once the grant is over. And then Twitter chats. I know I'm in love with Twitter a lot more than most of you, but I have learned so much on the
Twitters.
slow chats, and just Twitter at large. And then of course, professional journals. I find when you join a professional organization, especially the national ones, they still send you a paper journal if you want. But I've also found, like, School Library Journal was offering all their back issues online for free during the pandemic. And I think if you just look a little bit, you'll find more of that.
And Joan, remember our databases. The databases that the state libraries
Julie,
provide. You can get your professional journals that way. And so I get what do I get? I get educational leadership.
You can set alerts so it
Yep.
comes to you.
So
You
it
don't have to go
comes to
looking.
me. Yes, I
Yeah.
get educational leadership, and I also get knowledge, which is the
Knowledge Quest.
Knowledge Quest. That one comes for sure, and I get a couple other ones too. But they just come when there's new published content in the database and it's full text. And then Charla noted that School Library Journal has great webinars.
They do.
And so, but yeah, for like the journals, and the other thing that I, even if I don't have time to read them necessarily, I always try to look at the table of contents, because that's then if somebody is wandering the halls and they're like, oh yeah, I'm looking for something, and they're like, oh, oh, I'll be like, yeah, I just saw that in a table of contents somewhere. And so I can go back and it jars, and it also kind of keeps me at least what topics are
trending topics. Yes, exactly. And the professional journal one too, Knowledge Quest. I mean, I get alerts all the time about their articles. And I don't think that's because I'm a member. I think it's because I follow somebody or something somewhere. And so, if, like Julie, if the title interests me, I'll go further. Otherwise, I have that trending topic, at least that information. And then, of course, the last one, we all know, our professional organizations and conferences, which to me, we've had a lot more opportunity. That's one of the pluses of the pandemic. I've been able to take advantage of things that I wouldn't have traveled for.
You guys, I got to see Tom Bober And he's a school librarian from another state. He was at the Library of Congress. And so like Karen Schleckaway would love this because he got to intern at the Library of Congress, and he's written a book about using primary sources and picture books. And so I've used his work, and he was at the Idaho State Library Conference. And so I saw him tweet that he was going to be speaking, and it was like stupid cheap, you guys. And so he did a 3-hour session, and I got to hear him for 3 hours. It was so cool. And it's like, I would have never gotten to do that in real life. And so I was like, and plus I have the archive. I can go back and listen to him again if I want. But yes, there's some amazing professional development opportunities right now, which I know it feels like you don't have the bandwidth, and I feel that way too. And the other thing I do find myself doing is I may have professional development going on one screen. I use my iPad a lot for the webinars and just let them kind of play. And if something really piques my interest, then I'll look at it. But otherwise, so anyways, but yeah, it's just, yeah, I agree with you, Joan. There's so many cool things that we have access to right now that we just don't have normally.
And then I guess this is a confession. Often I'll sign up for things that I know I'm not available for, but they say register and we'll make the archive available to you. So that's really, for most of the time, how I see things. And ed camps, I don't know if anybody here has attended an ed camp, but I think we kind of do our 4-hour sessions at TIE like ed camps, Julie.
Yeah.
But anybody can organize and do an ed camp, and of course, if you Google that, you'll find all the information about it. But there are at least, and I haven't seen it lately because ed camp is in person, but there are at least 2. I mean, one is in South Dakota, and then I can't think of what the library one was. But anyway, keep your eyes peeled for those, because those are an ed camp. The difference there is the attendees decide the topics, and often the attendees end up, it's just sharing. It's not formal presentations. It's just sharing this, this is how I do it.
Focused discussions, kind of, more than anything. Yeah.
I did a library ed camp at West Middle School.
Yes.
Yes, you did.
Sorry, the state library has done ed camps. How can I forget that? I did them when I was there.
It was so much fun because everybody had wonderful input, and the sharing just kept going.
It was a really, I came to that one, and it was a really fun morning. And the other really fun thing about it was because we weren't a really big group that time, we were all together, and you got really different perspectives. And that was nice because you weren't kind of like stuck with, oh, I'm with the high school people, or, I'm with the big library people or anything. It was all sorts of different perspectives. So it was fun. We need to do that again, Shelley.
Okay.
So at this point, we were hoping and thank you, Shelley, because you're doing exactly that. Brainstorm an idea or 2 that you may be able to use when you're thinking beyond the grant, when we are no longer, doing formal classes and all that. We will keep doing our Facebook, but maybe something you're already doing that you'd like to share with us, or something that you've thought since you have participated in the cohort, something that you would continue or do differently for your own professional development, or in the way that you're helping your colleagues with their professional development.
You know what, Joan? We didn't plan this, but we have 13 people. Let's give them a few minutes in a breakout room, okay? And there's a new feature in Breakout Rooms, you guys, that I am giddy about. Do you want to talk about it, Janie? Or
did you do this last night?
I shared it with them last night. I'm so excited. So at the end of September, Zoom gave us a new option. So you do have to have an updated version of Zoom, and so it has to be version 5.3.0 or higher. And if you don't, I'll just drop you in where you go. But you can do self-selecting breakout rooms, and so you guys can just kind of go into. I know, it's so cool. And so I don't have to make everybody a co-host or anything. You guys can just do it. So let me set up breakout rooms real super fast, and you guys can think for a minute, and I will let you, let's see, I've got.
And we know when we planned this, that, you know, it's kind of hard to think past the pandemic right now, but we are in year 3. So we want you to be thinking ahead.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I've made 5 breakout rooms, and so that means that 2 or 3 of you can be in a room together, and you don't need to wear masks. I'm here for you. So you guys will automatically, when I send you, you should be able to then, when I open them, you'll be able to pick your room. And so just hop into a room and you can see who's in it and everything. And so you guys will have to be responsible for going into your own rooms. Does that make sense? So find somebody to talk to. So this is essentially stand up and find somebody who, I don't know. It's one of those.
Share pair.
Yeah, it's a pair share, but you find your own pair share. So I'm excited. I've never tried this in real life. I've only tried it with myself and my iPad and my other computer and stuff like that. So you guys are my guinea pigs. All right, are you guys ready? Oh, what you're talking about the ways that you can sustain your PD or whatever else you devolve into, but you will need to share when you come back. So, all right, ready? Okay, so now you've been invited, so you should be able to go to a breakout room. So this is what I'm waiting on to see what happens. Can you guys go?
I don't see anything.
What do we click on to go?
You don't see like in the upper right hand corner an option to go into a breakout room?
I clicked on it and it says breakout rooms in progress.
Okay, then what happens when you click on that?
I click and it just changes the arrow from facing right to facing down.
And there's nothing, you don't see anything? You don't see any options?
Oh, I see. Oh, if I hover over the 0, it says join. Okay, there we go.
Okay, bye, Kareen. All right, does anybody else see that?
No.
No.
I'm not sure where she found that.
Kareen's in room 3, you guys. All right, I'm going to shoot you guys off into breakout rooms. Janie, did you find something or are you raising your hand?
Applauding her for
Looking at
joining the
pin.
breakout room.
Oh. I'm going to send somebody to go with Kareen.
Okay.
And I'm going to just ship you guys out, okay?
Must be maybe we have the old version.
You know, and that is something that I want to do a little more testing with, because I am kind of curious about that. Oh, wonderful. Okay, you guys, you're all gone. So Sally, you're with somebody, Charla. Okay.
Can we move between our rooms?
You can. You should be able to as a co-host. So you don't see like a join breakout room option?
Nope. And I'm thinking it's because my Zoom is too old. In the upper right-hand corner, I have galley view, or I have, you know, double screen.
Okay.
It's not on my bottom toolbar, no?
No, it should be in your upper right-hand corner, right under galley view. It should have something. So do you want to go somewhere?
No, let them talk without us. They've been hearing me enough.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah, no, I'm happy.
Because then all we have to do is, well, we'll share back, but then talk about our upcoming events and, well, first of all, the webinar requirements and then our upcoming events. And then I feel bad that we can't just talk.
All right.
Oh, who
hi,
else has joined us?
Who's
Hi there.
We've got another Zoom kiddo.
My name is Wendy.
Hi.
Hi.
She's our little spunky one in our family. The youngest.
The youngest. They tend to be. All right. Well, you guys had a minute to
Bye.
hang out. Bye.
Bye.
You had a minute to hang out and touch base and see how things are. And so do you guys want to share what you brainstormed on or anything?
Or
like
if, you know, if it, whatever you shared,
Yeah.
we don't have to be on topic because we're like, we keep going back to, you know, what's currently going on and how we're handling this or that.
All right, room 1. It's Carmen and Danette, and I think Danette just left. So it's you, Carmen.
Yeah. So Danette and I, well, of course, it doesn't really apply to me, but Danette was saying that she's kind of at the point where, you know, her professional development isn't going to necessarily take her any place as far as salary is concerned. But she still plans on, you know, trying to connect with library classes whenever she can.
Well, that's good. And you know, and I think sometimes while you don't necessarily end up with the salary increase in your current position, one of the things that I've found is it opens up opportunities, and you make the connections and the relationships, and there may be opportunities that happen because of what you've done. And so that's one of the things that I always keep in mind when I think about, well, if I do this, I'm not going to get paid anymore. But you know, I might end up with other opportunities. So,
And, you know, add it to your resume.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to be a formal class either.
Yeah.
Definitely. Room 2?
Yeah, Janie, you're in room 2, and Janie did say that her and Megan had technical difficulties. So,
Yeah, I think I'd love to hear from everyone else.
that's
don't mind.
okay. No, that's okay. Thanks, Janie. And room 3, Becky and Kareen.
We kind of talked about how we would continue doing kind of the things we already are doing, like Twitter and Facebook, and then when we were ending, we were talking about how we were quarantining books. So
yeah, it went that direction.
Yeah, it was that, you know.
But that's okay. How are you doing that?
Everybody wants to know that.
Yeah, Becky, what were you said?
I'm taking books to my kids
Mhm.
on a cart. Because, and it was totally up to me. If I would have not said anything, they would have just been, bring your kids down, whatever. And I'm like, I cannot clean every place that you guys are going to touch. Just can't do it. So I take a cart, I pick books, I go do my lesson in the classroom with them. I've taught them how to hold the book so that they're holding it and I'm just scanning it. I'm not touching stuff as much as possible that they've already had. It goes in the box and it sits for 3 days. So my Monday box gets emptied on Thursday and my Tuesday box gets emptied on Friday. And Monday I empty a whole bunch of boxes after the weekend and I put everything back. It is so much time. It is just crazy. But they've learned, I've got them, like Kareen was saying, she's got her kids much more putting books on hold. And I've taught all of my, even down to my 3rd graders, they know how to find the catalog. They know how to tell me what they want. I've got book slips, they fill them out, you know, I mean, there's a lot more of that. So that part of it, actually, I'm getting them to try more stuff.
That's good.
It's
That's
just,
a lifelong skill.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, there is not enough hours in my day because I teach English classes too. So
right.
It's my prep every day is what's coming out of the box and what's going back on the cart and when am I going to do this? And yeah.
Well, you do what you can do.
I love to hear though that they're placing books on hold and being, using the catalog, because
Yep.
I think when they have the flexibility to be able to go in and just browse the shelves, it's easy to not. And so
Yeah.
like Joan said, lifelong skills. These will be things they'll always use. So that's good.
Right.
Thank you guys.
Can I just add a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
So like with the putting the books on hold, like today I was going because I get an email every time they put a book on hold, and they were picking up books that I know that I've never checked out to anyone in 5 years. And I'm like, this is amazing. They're finding other things besides Dogman and Diver Wimpy Kid. Like they're branching out. I'm like, this is amazing. And like the number of holds I had that first week of teaching them how to do it, I think I had over 200 emails for those kids 3rd through 6th. I'm like, holy buckets, I'm gonna have a lot of books to get out, but that's okay. That's wonderful. So that made me excited.
There are some positives. Point of need. They need it now.
Yes.
I really do. I mean, there's something to be said about browsing, but there's also something to be said about being able to go in and use the catalog. And, I like the catalog for being able to like say, oh, I liked this book, and searching for books like that and stuff. And you can't do that on the shelf. So this is so cool, you guys. All right. So that was room 3. Room 4, it's Nola and Shelley.
Well, I told her, I said, my main problem is I don't know how to say no. And so currently right now I am teaching myself whatever the current need is for whatever teacher. I go out, I learn it, and then I come back with it. So I'm kind of a schizophrenic tech person right now. Just kind of all over the place. I'm doing choice boards and hyperdocs and trying to find new games for teachers to incorporate. I just joined, I paid for a simple K-12 membership, and they have thousands of webinars on there, or 1,000 at least, I should say. And I did one right before I joined all of you. But like a lot of those PLNs, sometimes like the Bitmoji one or the hyperdocs will throw up on their Facebook group, hey, we're going to do a webinar on something. And so I try to keep on top of those as well.
That, it is nice that they share stuff so readily. I do a lot more searching in Facebook. I wish Facebook had a little bit better search, but but I do an awful lot of searching in Facebook now, based on people's needs. And so, because you're in the hyperdoc one in Facebook, right, Shelley?
Yes, okay. Hyperdoc and Bitmoji.
Okay. And I'll try to think if there's any other ones that I'm in that might be really good for you. So Nola, what did you?
I'm sorry, I was just going to throw in Future Ready, and you don't have to be doing the global read aloud to look at their stuff either. They do fantastic stuff. That maybe you're not doing that book, but you could take that idea.
What about you, Nola?
She did say something about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, something that she shared with, I think it was a hyperdoc that she shared with her teachers. I thought that was kind of neat. So I'd like to check some of that stuff out. And I guess I'm just gonna keep reading, and there's so many good resources that we were exposed to through this class. I want to just keep doing that, and hopefully I can just get more confident and share more with our teachers. I do a little bit one-on-one, or if I find something, I try to share it with somebody I think could use it. But I just hope to get better at that.
Good. And it's, and that's, I love to hear that you're sharing. And like Joan said, those PD sessions are often one-on-one in the hallway, or, something as you're flying by and saying, hey, I found this, so you might like it, type of thing. So I'm glad to hear that you're finding stuff. And room 5, Sally and Charla, what did you guys talk about?
I'll talk for us. Sally's mic doesn't work. So we talked and chatted and did what we could. So Sally switched jobs and she is now doing more technology. She is the technology instructional facilitator, teaching multimedia to middle schoolers. So her professional development, what she wants to do is more computer science to kind of head that direction and see what she's looking at. And then she does a lot, kind of like Shelley, I think it sounds like, does a lot of helping teachers with their Zoom classes and helping students and their quarantined kids and just getting everybody figured out with their technology. How'd I do, Sally? And then one of the things that I was thinking about, especially when you said Ed Camp, Erin is only 30 minutes from me. And we've already, our little carpool text continues every once in a while anyway, but she's 30 minutes from me. We have 2 other districts between us. It would be really nice to do some Ed Camp stuff with our area. We've got a lot of people that we know down here anyway. All of our schools, play each other in every sport possible. I think that would be a really great one to do when we can all be together again. So,
a great idea.
I love that. And I love the concept of an Ed Camp. I know Timberlake by Joan has done a combo in service the last 3 years, I think. And they bring in some outsiders, but then they also they have themselves, speak. And I know Edgemont, Hot Springs, Custer, maybe they're planning on doing one sometime after the new year. Sometime. I know. I was like, that's out there, but I love that idea of partnering with the local districts, because then you can really share your local talents. And also, if you want to bring somebody in, it definitely reduces that cost.
Right. And we're so spoiled down here in Vermilion. We have USD in our backyard.
You do.
Forget about that sometimes. And we've got them. We've got all departments. We've got a little bit of everything, and we need to remember that.
And you guys, and they're amazing. I know I've had an opportunity to work with a couple of them through some of the work I did with you guys, and they are just like mind-boggling. So yeah.
Yep.
So cool. Well, I am so glad. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight and hanging out. It was really good to see you guys and just share what you guys are doing. So next month I'll send out a little earlier the books. I'm sorry, I was kind of slow this week.
But everybody I'm sure had more than enough to do.
Yeah.
If you check back your agenda, I'm not going to go over it, but you'll see the webinar course requirements, and then we put together the upcoming events. And it seems, as I've been following along, everybody is doing great with our class with Mark. But if not, let us know if something, comes up, or Mark. He's very responsive on Facebook. I see that. And anything else, Julie?
No
reminders.
No reminders, except I am gonna USD, the USD peeps, you guys know, it's the graduate credits have been kind of hard, but we have a new person and she's been amazing. Her name is Julie, and so I'm sure that has something to do with it. But she's been just amazing to work with. However, there was some changes at USD. She's like, I'd like to get this webinar series registered, and I'm like, it's pretty optional and we never really know. So for you USD peeps, I'm going to send out an email and say, hey, do you think you're going to do the webinar series so that I can get you registered? And because we have extra money, we'll pay for that credit this year. So we can pay for that 5th credit if you want it. And so these are pretty easy. This is a pretty easy credit. I mean, just because it's the 4 webinars and you get to hang out with us and
and one cool project.
So it's a fun one. But yeah, so, and then the other thing is the Thai conference, we will pay for hotels and you'll get a stipend and we'll do registration for the Thai conference. And so hopefully, and hopefully we can be in person. I mean, it's so hard to plan, but I would definitely try to get, ask your administration, let them know that you'll get that paid for. And if you need something more from me in terms of documentation, but it's in Rapid, so so you East River people are going to have to drive, but Janie, you can sleep in your own bed. And so can you, Shelley.
And who knew we'd end up only meeting in Rapid?
I know.
But that's the way it goes.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. It's so good to see you. And I'll post this and we'll see you again next month. And if you need anything, as always, just reach out. Okay.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you guys.